All right, let's finish this week. Finish the week. All right, let's do this. We've got 4 hours left. 7 laps. Change car. All right. What's up with... Oh, race tires. There he is. There's the fate. It works. Yes. That's why I sound different.
Yes.
What is it?
What did you say?
Yes, you do. You sound like shit. But that's normal for you. Yep, that happens after some time. I don't know what Skull Candy is on when it comes to their fucking microphones. I was afraid when I paid $200 for the headsets I'm using now that what's the ratio? It's actually pretty good. All right. I was afraid when I paid $200 for these that the microphone quality would have been worse than what I've already had, but they're actually better. A lot better. So it's great. I have wireless headsets with super duper bass. I can listen to music to very well. And I'm going to try to use this new V8 Chevrolet supercar. Unfortunately, you can't see share screen. Yeah, but you're working. Yep. It's... Wow, that guy... Yeah. I think we did that? I don't remember. Wow, I'm just hitting every single wall, damn. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Yep, we're on Bathurst. It's the Australian circuit, lots of turns, and I'm in that new Camaro kind of thing with the V8 supercharger. Not very good, since this is like an endurance race, and this thing is not an endurance kind of car. But it's got plenty of power. I could probably get a good 3 laps with this car if I really conserve. Because it's impossible. No, it's not that. You literally cannot traverse time backwards. You can do it forwards, but you can't do it backwards. Okay. So let me break your head right now. Due to cosmic dilation and gravitational time dilation, a miner, basically someone who mines for coal, they're 400 feet underground, they are actually moving faster in time than you are. And, well, you are moving faster in time than they are. So they're actually moving a lot slower. Simply because they're closer to the core of the planet. That's gravitational time dilation. Thanks, I got thrown right into the fucking dirt pile. Make you orbit the sun for 3 years, you'll be at least a year in the future, if my calculations are right. Not hard, you just have to slow all the way down. It's not a problem. Yes, they do. We have ships that sit in the corona of the sun. Yeah, the chronosphere. So we absolutely can. The big problem with space and heat is there's so little matter in between things. It's really hard for heat to transfer to items. There's a certain distance between the surface of the sun and space, the chronosphere, basically, where there's just enough photonic matter, and photons are like questionable matter. There's just enough interaction there between physical matter and photonic matter that heat can transfer and things start to melt. That's the tricky part with space. That's all. Another tricky part is actually cooling things down in space. Because there's no air around you to cool off, no gas. It's just empty space, so you have to find a different way to radiate heat. It's complicated stuff. It's doable, just complicated. No, we can't. We will never do anything in terms of time travel. Well, the problem is you can't go back in time. I mean, so you know how Star Trek would beam people up? It broke people. Basically, you died. Canonically, every time you were beamed up, you died. Yes. Well, it's because you were atomically disassembled and then reassembled. You basically died on an atomic level. My guy, we could have already become a type 1 civilization if we didn't spend all of our time babysitting third worlders. That's literally it. We gave up the stars. We gave up space travel. I mean, we literally went to the moon, and then the next thing you know happened is women started getting into the workforce and all that. We gave up space travel to babysit third worlders, basically. That's where all of our money goes, and the worst part is, the genuine worst part is, most of it's just straight fraud. Like the healthcare fraud I was telling you about, hospice care fraud I was telling you about yesterday. Most of it's just straight fraud. Most of that money could be going to advancing science is just being pissed out. It's just being pissed out. So it's just disappointing. We gave up so much to to create a welfare system. Basically, we gave it all up. The boomers basically wanted a welfare system to live off of. The boomers gave everything up just so they could live comfortably, and we won't be able to have any sort of advancement until boomers are gone. Because as soon as it affects their retirement, as soon as it affects their investments, as soon as it affects them in any sort of way, and boomers are the "if it don't affect me, not my problem" generation, nothing will get done until they're gone. Genuinely. Like, dude, we would have fusion technology already if it wasn't for boomers. Dude, we would have all of this technology if it wasn't for boomers wanting a welfare system to support them. We can literally already do all of this. The problem is none of those projects get any funding, because where does all the money go? No. We give it all away. Okay. So, a fun little thought experiment is, you know how most despots, like Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Chairman Mao, most of them were in fatherless homes, correct? So during the big economic boom of the late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and lastly 80s, who was the primary breadwinner up until about the 80s? The man. The husband was never home to take care of his children. Therefore, the children were raised by the mother. They were basically in a single mother home, a fatherless home. So you have a bunch of children, boomers, born between 49 or 46 and 65, basically the altruistic generation. Same time we had the Cold War going on, so schools and universities were being inculcated or basically impregnated by communist ideology and Marxism. So you have people who are predisposed to enjoy altruism and feel altruism at a very young age being further poisoned with altruistic beliefs and theocratic systems. So their entire lives are molded in give away. While also, because the main structure of communism is a caste system, essentially, those who have, or those who appropriate are the ones who have, who decide who gets what, are the ones who have, and then there's everyone else. And right now the boomers, for quite a while, 40, 50 years, have been the ones who are the ones deciding who gets what. And of course they're going to decide they, as the top caste, are going to get. You literally have communists running this country right now, Democrat and Republican, and they decided that it is more important to give that money to Africa Give that money to Kenya. Give that money to Israel. Give that money to themselves. Give that money to Pablo and his family that lives to subsist off of the national nipple. They found, basically, they found that it is better to give all of that money away and increase the taxes. They take more from you. You should give more to them so they can give more to others, so they could be more altruistic. That is what it has led. That's why we don't have what we have. That is why instead of building new nuclear plants because they're better for the environment, we stopped and just cut back on coal production. Cut back on coal plants. Why? Because, well, that money could be used to feed Muhammad. That could have been used to feed Muhammad and his 7 children. And, you've got a lot of these mayors and governors basically running little mafias in their states and counties and cities full of immigrants who are basically paying them for the corruption that they're doing. Like you see with the Somali fraud. Ilhan Omar is the governor of Minnesota. Or no, senator for Minnesota. And you have Tim Walz, who is the governor. And you have these Somalis basically paying Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar so they could turn the blind eye. You pat my back, I pat yours. That's basically what they're doing. And that's how they're getting money. They're playing the stock market because they have insider information, and they're filling the country with immigrants, basically because, specifically third world immigrants, because, one, you give a third world immigrant who's used to subsisting off of $500 a month, $1,500 a month, he will be happy as could be, and he'll bring his whole family over. Yes, and these people are also very used to what? Corruption. They live in low trust societies. In a high trust society, corruption like this flies under the radar because we couldn't believe. Oh my God, the Mohammeds? How could they have possibly done such a thing for so long? It's completely unlike them. I thought they were rich and wealthy. Instead, they were stealing hospice money. It's shit like that. They're basically taking advantage of people's blind eye and lack of street smarts, because the boomer generation is if it don't affect me, it's not happening generation. They have no object permanence. It's literally a boomer pulling out in front of you with their SUV, causing you to slam on your brakes and hit your horns, and they're mad at you because you honked at them for no reason. Because you don't exist until it affects them. It's literally it. They're that stupid. A lot of them are that stupid. And they've got PhDs and degrees. And these are the people who are loading our textbooks like McGraw-Hill with their communist propaganda. Like, you can't even trust the shit you're taught in school anymore. I've had to completely relearn things because McGraw-Hill is so tainted with communism. You don't even hear about Weimar Germany in school. You don't even hear about the fact that most slaves didn't even work on fields, and most slaves didn't even pick cotton. Most of them worked in private shops and could go and basically, if they worked, so they'd go to their slave and they'd say, you make 10 shoes today, and if you make any extra, I'll pay you for them. That is a lot of what happened, and you had a lot of slaves buying their freedom. Genuinely, a lot of it wasn't even field work. That's just straight propaganda from boomers. That was the harshest reality being presented to you as the universal fact. I'm sure you probably didn't even realize that until I just told you. Exactly. And once you think that, you start to feel a lot less happy to go ahead and listen to people saying reparations. Oh, your great granddaddy was a slave? Well, he bought his freedom. He was nothing more than a shoe cobbler. Well, what kind of reparations do you need? And at the same time, when you talk about reparations, how much money are you willing to put on human suffering? Is the next big question. Most people can't answer that. At the same time, when you really look at it, when you read the history and understand it, slavery wasn't that bad. It was violently overblown. And the glory of World War II is violently overblown. You know, we, in the Pacific, we took Japanese skulls as trophies. We were knocking teeth out of Japanese soldiers. I mean, you don't understand the war crimes America committed. I mean, sure, you'll hear a communist America hater happily tell you about all the war crimes America committed, but you'll never hear about what the war crimes the Japanese committed or the British committed, or the fact that most of the concentration camps were labor camps and not actual execution camps. Not only that, but majority of the people who were killed in the Holocaust weren't even Jews. That's something that it was actually taught to our generation, but somehow slipped under the covers. There was 10 million people killed in the Holocaust. Reported. 10, 11 million people. And they only ever talk about the Jews. A lot of the people that were killed in the Holocaust were basically undesirables. So they either had some sort of deformity or mental issue, or they were disabled. They weren't worth anything in terms of labor or any of that. The same thing goes with the Jews at the time. Any of the Jews who could labor, they were laboring. Any Jews who couldn't because they were disabled or malformed or had some sort of disability or asthma, they were just killed because that's how they were seen as human commodities. Under what kind of a system? A socialist system. A socialist system that had an idealized version of what a German was. That was the nationalist part. And if you didn't fit into that idealized version of what a German was, you were cattle. That is what you could teach in school to make it seem really horrific. If you were not what the idealized version of what German was, you were cattle. And if you couldn't labor, you weren't worth existing. You weren't worth giving food. Not only that, but the majority of the starvation that happened in a lot of the camps, guess what? It's the Allies' fault. I'm not even shocked if it would come out one day it was the Soviets who killed all the Jews in a mass execution instead of it was the Germans. Why? Because the Soviet soldiers they sent headfirst into Poland when the Eastern Front started to collapse were absolute animals. And they'd kill everything in sight. They didn't care. It was kill and rape. You'd never hear about the rape of Berlin, how 40 million Germans were basically ethnically cleansed. You never hear about that. You never hear about the Holodomor, where it was like 40 million Christians were starved to death under Bolshevik communism. You never hear about it. That's not parts of history you ever learn. And that's on purpose because they're communists. And what they don't realize is the more they hide from certain parts of history, the more people will start to go towards the opposite of all the propaganda. They understand what the special snowflake syndrome is, but for whatever reason, they refuse to learn from it. And special snowflake syndrome is basically, oh, you're telling me to do this? Well, I'm going to do the exact opposite because fuck you. That's literally it. And look at the way everyone is trending in America. Look at where all the young men are trending. The exact same way young men in Germany were trending during the Weimar Republic. All we need is some strong man to come and say, come to me, join my club. I will give you purpose and masculinity. And of course, what's going to happen is young women are going to flood to it too, because there's a bunch of young men doing work, and I want to be patriotic too, and I want to have access to these young men. And next thing you know, you've got a bunch of nationalist socialist breeding camps going on. But no, we don't want to learn from history. We're too busy trying to rewrite it as the scribes in a hope that it doesn't repeat itself. Just don't pay attention to that. Nothing bad could possibly happen.